Hello there, and welcome to Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, the Writers' Room podcast dedicated to fixing the Star Wars sequels. This week is part 4 of Fixing the Force Awakens. We'll be finishing our beat sheets with the climax and resolution of each story. I'm Bryce Quinn, and I'm joined by my writing co-pilot, Carmelo Keating.
Let's burn it all down. That's the only way to do a third act, blow everything up.
How do you feel about that, our whipmaster, Emily Holden?
I think that's brilliant. No happy endings. Everyone dies.
Everyone dies, 0 happy endings. Strap in, everyone. That's what it's going to look like.
It's Star Wars. We're going to drop the star. It's just going to be wars.
What family
Just
adventure
wars.
movies? Who? Why would we bother with that?
Forget about it.
So yeah, third act, we've been following pretty closely to the Save the Cat beat sheet, and if you're interested in learning more about that, there's plenty of resources online, and we've been covering bits and pieces of it. But yeah, the third act, our characters approach their final challenge. The Save the Cat beat sheet breaks it down into 5 parts, in that it begins with assemble the team, followed by launch the plan, then the midpoint of the third act, which is high tower surprise. Something bad happens, and they have to make a new plan. The characters must dig down deep, and then launch a new plan, using everything they've learned along their journey, overcome the final challenge. And then after that, we get our final image, which I also kind of, in my head, wrap up alongside the denouement, which is the wrapping up everything, the resolution, you know, the hobbits go back to the Shire and stuff.
And it is also crucial that our final image is a freeze frame, and you slowly fade out of it. The 1980s did it best.
You get the blurry Harry Potter from Prisoner of Azkaban as he's yelling his way into the sky. Yeah.
God, I forgot
Can you
they did
raise,
that.
like-
I love that freeze frame.
So good, yeah.
Can we have them like raise their lightsabers all in the air at once, and that's the freeze frame?
And they say
I want.
directly to camera, they go, "We're all Skywalker," and that's the
Yeah.
cuts.
Knights of the Round Skywalker.
Exactly. Okay, so we're going to start with what we've been doing for the past few episodes.
Yep.
Listing off some movies with some really great third acts. Of course, starting with Jurassic Park. Our heroes launch the plan to escape the park. We begin with Ellie Sattler. Oh, I actually forgot a bunch of the third act, but the important parts.
Forget about
They're
it.
all trying to get out, and Ellie Sattler's like, I'm going to go turn on the electricity to escape the park. And as she does that, it activates the electricity all around the park, which just so happens to be when, I can't remember the kid's name,
raptors.
he's
Yeah.
on the fence.
Dude, there's always that line that I always remember. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in business. And then she gets jump scared by the fucking velociraptor
Yes.
through the wires. But yeah, the kid.
And the kid
Nick.
gets zapped off of the he gets zapped off the fence. So yeah, that's the high tower surprise bit. I've skipped the first 2 parts, whatever. And then from there, they're now being tracked again by all the dinosaurs and stuff. They have to dig down deep, use everything they've learned along their journey, and escape. All of these kind of the embodiment of the wildness of nature. That's kind of what the whole film's about.
Yeah.
And then they get saved thanks to the best Deus Ex Machina in film history, where the T-Rex comes down and eats the
Yep.
Velociraptor. Which, you know, could be viewed as like it's like a cheat, but it's all about the wildness of nature, and that very thing that has been terrorizing the whole time is what ends up saving them from death, and they all escape, and they say, we decided not to endorse the park, which is great. And then the final image, you get Alan Grant with the 2 kids, and what he's learned through the whole thing is, you know, I can share my love of dinosaurs and, you know, start a family and everything. You get to see that final image as they fly away from the island. Great third act. Any notes there?
No, it's good.
No, I actually love it, and I think it sets it up really well when they find the eggs and they discover that they have been reproducing, and that's when
That's it,
yeah, that's where he decides that nature always does find a way.
Nature will find a way, yeah.
Yeah, whether that's good or bad. That's the whole thing about the T-Rex. Oh, it's not really good. It's not really bad.
It's just nature, you know?
It's just nature, and I think
Yeah.
that brilliant scene in the kitchen is my favorite scene
Yeah.
ever, when they unlock
Oh,
the door
so
slowly
good.
and you have the heads come around. So good.
Yeah, no, Velociraptors
So
are incredible villains for that
Yeah.
movie.
They
but-
just don't understand how mirrors work. Stupid.
But I think it's a really great way of like getting that idea across. Nature is just nature. It doesn't have intent the way that humans do. Humans are kind of a weird, unfortunate mutation where we have greed and avarice and
Yep.
and ego and the desire to control nature and become God. And the movie states clearly, nature is not like that. Nature will just find a way and it'll just make things happen. It's a great movie.
It's interesting because then when you look at like Australian Gothic cinema, it's often flips that and it says like nature
does
is
have an
evil.
intent,
Like you've
yeah.
got Picnic at Hanging Rock where it's like nature's out to get you.
Yeah,
Mm.
no, that's an interesting take as well.
Yeah.
Then, staying close to Star Wars land, we've got Star Wars A New Hope. The heroes regroup on Yavin 4 and make their plan to assault the Death Star. So they're all sitting around the table. What's up, Mello?
Yep.
What are you looking at my phone for?
Because it's funny.
So yeah, they're sitting around the table. Mon Mothma's like laying out the plan. Here's the Death Star plans that we've now gotten. We can attack the Death Star. At the same time, you're seeing the Death Star line up its shot on Yavin 4. So high stakes, everything's coming up to this point. They begin their trench run as the Death Star charges up. The battle begins, but the trench run fails. A pilot gets a shot off in the exhaust port, but it misses, leaving only Luke to accomplish the mission. This is the Hightower surprise. Darth Vader closes in, but at the last minute, Han Solo returns to help Luke finish the run. This is also Han Solo digging down deep and using what he's learned along the journeys to be a good friend and not care about money so much. Luke then hears Ben speak to him, and he digs down deep using the Force to get the shot off and destroy the Death Star. Our denouement and final image comes in the form of the award ceremony.
I'm going to talk about what I think is the best third act in all Star Wars, and fight me on this.
Okay, go for it.
Rogue One.
Oh, dude, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Fucking glorious. So they, the rebels are like, nah, we're finished. We should just quit. Fucking rebels. And then, Jin and the gang are like, oh, no, fuck this. Okay, we're going to go Rogue One. And go steal the plans ourselves. We're going to sneak through the gate, but it's cool because we got that ship. We're going to go find the plans. You're going to make a distraction. Everything goes wrong. The other rebels come to the fight to also help with the distraction. They break the shield gate. They get the plans off. They all die anyway. It's glorious.
It's a great third act. I would say the only reason I wouldn't list that here is because it doesn't fit neatly in the structure.
Nah.
So the Darth Vader scene in particular.
Yeah.
Amazing scene.
Yes.
But we've already had our Hightower surprise earlier on where
yeah.
everything has gone wrong and the heroes have to make a completely new plan. And they're digging down deep is realizing we're not making out of this alive. We have to sacrifice ourselves so that we can get these plans off the planet.
But then the same deal with those pilots themselves. They also realize, okay, we just need to get this out. And what I think is it's a good example of like, okay, so there's the structure, but here's how you can expand upon the structure.
I entirely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Like the structure exists, and if you want to stick to it beat for beat, you can.
Yeah.
But you can still tell a really compelling story without doing that. And we still get our great final image with Leia, and like we've got hope, even though the final image is sort of unsettling.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking
that
about.
CG face, but yeah.
But then also, I think it's a cool example of, because structurally speaking, the third act is meant to be kind of like the final 25%.
Yes.
In Rogue One, it's not. It's a whole hour.
Oh, it's very, very long.
And I think it's a really cool, great third act.
Yeah.
And you can always work around the structure while still using it. So
I entirely agree. Alrighty, next one, Guardians of the Galaxy. They assemble their team. They all stand around. They're like, great, we're all standing around like a bunch of, what is it, jackasses? What does Rocket say?
They're a bunch of jackasses.
Something like that, to that effect. And they have assembled their team. They do the suit up scene to Cherry Bomb. Fantastic suit up scene. And then they launch their attack. You've got the battle over Nova Prime. I can't remember the name of the planet. Something like that.
Nova Scotia?
Yeah, that sounds right.
The Canadian province of Nova Scotia.
Yeah.
So they're having their fight and everything, and they launch their plan. They're going to attack Ronan in a bunch of different ways while they try and evacuate the city below. It's going pretty well, but Hightower surprise. Ronan beats them, overcomes them, uses the Power Stone, and the thing crashes on the planet's surface. Star-Lord has to dig down deep, hold the Power Stone. Groot dies as well, yeah. And they have to dig down deep, use the Power Stone, and overcome... We don't get a whole lot of time with Star-Lord in terms of personal character growth, but he does have to overcome like the loss of his mother and stuff, and embracing found family and that kind of thing. And they use that to overcome Ronan by launching the new plan, which is really cool. Really, really fun third act.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dance off, bro.
The dance off,
so
for
good.
sure. But yeah, using a lot of like just the message of it's important to have fun and dance and love and embrace family and all that kind of stuff, which is at the heart of Guardians of the Galaxy.
It's kind of funny how like it makes it so obvious that it's a found family trope, but you just don't care.
Oh yeah, no.
It's just like,
It's a really good found family trope.
Yeah.
And it's a trope that people love for a reason, it's a beautiful thing. Emily, you got a movie for us?
I think the one that I was actually watching quite recently, and I like how these movies often fall into these tropes, is mystery tropes and detective tropes.
Ah, nice.
I was watching Haunting in Venice.
Oh, okay.
Pyro. Love it. And I really, really love how they follow the same trope every time, and I will never
They
fail
do
to love
the
it.
roundup and delivering all the clues, right? Yeah.
It scratches my brain. What they actually did in this one is they have like the moment where he starts seeing ghosts and stuff, and he's like, that's it, I've lost it, they're real, everything I know is fake, and it's kind of his moment. And then another person dies and they get together and they do that. I know who it is.
Yeah, and they're going
the
through all
one
the evidence
thing-
and everything.
But the one thing I love that these movies do that other people do is they will not tell you their own personal discovery until the very, very end.
Yeah.
So for a while, unlike these ones where you're like, wow, it's beautiful, you're just a little confused.
Yeah.
And it kind of builds up that tension versus in these ones, it's normally the tension is right before they go through that little high moment.
Yeah.
And it was just good. I don't want to spoil it. But,
No, I saw it.
drugs.
Saw that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fun. Much better than Death on the Nile,
Yeah.
which I just thought I should pander that film, slander that film
Yeah.
But like,
on air.
Yeah.
It's trash.
but like adding from that one, Knives Out is another one that does
Oh,
the
yeah.
third act brilliantly.
God, I love Knives Out.
It's so good. And like detective movies can follow these types of structures so clearly. And
Absolutely.
it's so blatantly obvious, but you will love it every time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's our third act kind of summary. That's the shape of things and what they look like. I'm sure anyone listening is very familiar with third act. Everything gets really intense and you have the big fight. But why? What's the point? It's because our characters have gone along a very long journey and we have to throw the final challenge. They should have been challenged the entire time, but this is the big challenge. This is the challenge that means everything. In our beat sheets, we've been talking about our stories, getting Ben and Ray along their journey and getting them towards this big challenge and what that challenge might be. And so I'm going to start off today. I've got my beat sheet here. I have made some changes.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't really have the third act plotted out the way that I wanted it to. I've gone and changed a couple of things, which means I'm going to go and add in some more details into the Dark Night of the Soul.
Yep.
And so that will be why my third act is a little bit long. So bear with me today. So, recap. We ended off with Leia calling in the Resistance to fight Phasma and save the Unkar Plutt space station from destruction, which is Phasma's next target. I'm going to rewind a little bit, add some more oomph to the Dark Night of the Soul. Beat 1. As Han passes away, he's just been shot fatally, and he's on the Millennium Falcon surrounded by all his friends and family. We see Ben is struggling to keep it together. We cut to Rey in her ship in a similar state of distress. They seem to be sharing their emotions. Luke takes Ben to go and meditate and puts Ben into a forced trance because Ben is distraught and Luke is trying to help him. This links him to Rey in the process and he uses his knowledge of the Force to kind of make that sort of happen, and he appears before Rey. They have a sweet scene where Rey is reminded of the theme, she must choose her own path. So instead of going to Maz Kanata, she's now talking to Luke.
Cool.
I
Nice.
very much
Yeah.
took inspiration from that scene with you, Mello. The scene that you mentioned last week. I was like, that's brilliant. I think Luke should be the one to talk to Rey in this moment where she is at her lowest and explain some of this mysterious Force things.
Nice. Lock it in.
Yeah.
That's going in our
I think it's a great scene.
script.
Does him hijacking the dyad not fully work yet? Probably, but we'll see if that sticks
Is what
around.
it is.
I mean, I think it makes perfect sense. Like, I don't understand why Dryad can't be Triad.
Dyad.
Can it be Triad now?
Yeah, they're
Triads.
triads.
There's three
yeah.
of them. But I think it makes perfect sense.
In my head, it sort of makes sense because we've seen communication through space before. That was in Empire Strikes Back. This is kind of just a slight elevation of that, and it also demonstrates Luke's real attunement to the Force here. So I would argue that it works, but we'll see if it sticks around.
It also puts him back more like taking control story. It's not just stuff happening to him. Like, he actively is going out to help people and kind of
Yeah.
brings them out of that hermit role that they had in the other movies.
All right, beat 2. Luke leaves Ben in this trance, fearing that Ben is too overcome with loss to be trusted. He goes to Leia and tells her where Phasma is headed next, and then Leia calls in the Resistance. Now we're all caught up. Beat 3. Rey flies past the space station and calls Unkar Plutt, telling him to send all the bounty hunters to fight Phasma's ship and to activate the space station's hyperdrive as soon as possible so that everyone can escape. So Rey has they've sort of formed their group at this point. We've got Luke and Leia bringing the Resistance in and getting ready to fight Phasma, and then Rey is like, I've decided what I'm going to do. I'm going to help the space station escape.
Yep.
That's the beginning of the Act 3 stuff.
Now, this space station, right? Like,
Yeah.
when was the last time
So
they
yeah,
used their hyperdrive?
that's a good question. It's
Yeah.
it's a
Just
big...
in terms of, like, God, would this be this thing of, like, okay, like, get it going? Then they're like, okay, cool, we believe you.
It's been years since
Fuck.
we've used it.
Yeah,
We've got to
yeah,
do a whole
yeah.
sequence.
Ugnaughts, come.
I really like that. That's great. Like doing the whole sequence so that it does become a part of the action. Like Rey's talking to Unkar Plutt and be like, how long? And he's like, we're working on it. And you cut to and you see like all of these gears and knobs and dials and stuff. And they're
It's-
trying to
yeah.
The beautiful way to
awaken
build
this old
tension.
machine. Yeah.
It aligns with the saying things whilst doing things in
Yes.
Star Wars.
Yes, for sure.
Conversations in the middle of action.
And then beat 4, Phasma arrives and begins aiming her kyber laser at the space station. So very similar to A New Hope, where we get the scene with the villain. She's like, jumps out of hyperspace. She's like, cool, you're dead, and starts charging up the laser.
Yep. Yeah, and
Beat-
it does take time. Now that's
Yes.
something that also
Yes.
like
The
must
warm-up.
we'll pre-establish where it's like, yeah, it takes time.
Yeah.
Fuck you. know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not
And-
an instant thing.
It's a way to beat out some of the story and the action and everything.
And I think it's fair enough. It's logical. It's also like, you can't fire immediately after. It's like, you might get a cramp after. Don't go swimming after eating.
that will come up very soon.
Yeah, cool.
Kind of like that Megamind scene. When they use the power of the sun.
No,
Dude.
I haven't seen Megamind in a while.
Megamind uses Starkiller Base.
Yes. No, they've like the whole same thing of like they like kind of make fun of the trope of watching it like heat
Oh
up.
yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, just
That's
one
brilliant.
second. It'll be done in a second. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beat 5. The Resistance arrives, and our big space fight begins. The Resistance sides with the small forces of the space station, as well as with Rey, but Phasma's army has grown hugely over the course of the story, and large ships block the cannon fire aimed at Phasma's kyber laser, stopping it from being destroyed. So they come in and just like full on,
Yep.
just take all the hits directed at the laser.
Yeah, so sorry, are there are more ships?
Yes. So
Yes,
because
yeah.
Phasma has taken out her biggest opposition, which is the crime lords and the other Imperial remnant, everyone who's left, she's said very clearly, you join me now. So her army has grown significantly, combined with the fact that the New Republic has decided not to send their army against Phasma out of fear of the capabilities of her ship. So the Resistance is the only thing fighting
Yeah.
against her right now.
Now, do we have because obviously we do see throughout your story a build up to that moment. See, with Phasma, killing people, doing shit. But do we have like a villains assembly sort of bit, even just a small scene, or is it? You reckon it's worth being like, no, we understand where this has all come from.
Yeah.
Here's the big surprise at the end. Wow, there's so many of them.
I absolutely think that's a good idea. And I think that beat just a moment ago where I said, Phasma arrives, starts charging up the laser.
Yeah.
Some kind of dialogue there, some kind of like holographic villains assembly where it's like, we're with you, and she's like, you should have been from the start, but I'll take it kind of thing.
Yeah.
Something like along those lines would work really well.
Radio guys, we're gonna take care of these goons.
Yeah.
And rendezvous, get some shawarma.
Oh, God.
Avengers.
Oh, God. Okay. Beat 6. Luke knows they're running out of time and says goodbye to Leia before heading for Phasma's ship on a suicide mission. So he can see, and like by their radar or whatever, he's like, they're charging up that laser. We're running out of time.
Yep.
I've got to, take care of this. He makes his way to the bridge with little effort, and he and Phasma duel. She has trained for years to kill him specifically, but she is not his equal. Sensing her defeat, she yells for the laser to be fired before it's fully charged. Luke uses the Force to move the entire ship, angling the laser up. It almost misses, but still destroys the hyperspace control bridge. High tower. Surprise.
Tower. They literally destroy the high tower.
They literally do.
There's
and
the
also
surprise.
uncut plot.
Yeah.
He fucking
Yo,
dies.
Yo, not the
No,
blobfish played
wow.
by Sean.
So that's
Pegg.
why I really
Simon
loved
Pegg.
that note where you're like, oh, they're going to be like, charging it up and using this ancient control tower to use the hyperspace terminal or whatever. Absolutely, because he's got to die because it's going to be sad. And that completely changes Rey's plan because now hyperspace and escape is off the table.
So now she actively has to go and fight them. What is Phasma using to fight Luke?
Oh,
like
a
what-
stick.
Yep.
No, like a Beskar spear or something like that. And her
Okay,
armor, I
okay.
imagine, is all like Beskar as well.
Okay, cool.
Something along those lines, something that's lightsaber proof.
Like the way that
Yeah.
she looks, and when she fights Finn in Episode 8.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. It made sense to me. Like, why is her armor chrome and looks awesome and she can't fight lightsabers with it? Like,
Yeah.
and I've always had this idea in my head that Phasma, of all people, would be the person who's like, I'm training. Like, all of my training that I do personally is to kill a Jedi.
Mm.
Like, that's her mission.
Yeah.
Do you know why her armor is chrome?
Oh,
Canonically,
God. Why
just
is the
quickly.
canon reason, Mello?
So I've read her book actually, and they kind of explain it in that, and it's not the worst thing, but just without that context, it's Sheev Palpatine's Naboo shuttle. It's the plating from that.
God.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember.
Nah, it's-
Why?
Nah.
Why, though?
Because Star Wars.
You know how fucking heavy that would be? It would
Yeah.
be ridiculous.
Yeah. Even
I
if
like
it's
those
just
stuff.
like the surface
Oh, my
layer.
gosh.
Yeah, really silly.
I think it'd kind of be cool also if you did change her outfit a little bit to kind of be Mandalorian inspired, like to go back to the Jedi Mandalorian, and if she does have the Beskar armor to kind of build her up in that ultimate one-side head.
That'd be really interesting. I've had a couple times, I'm like, what are we going to do with Mandalorians in this? Because they've got a whole
Do you think
Mandoverse
she
now.
would recruit them?
I don't
to see
know.
if they still.
We've
'cause
never
the
decided.
Death
We never
Watch
talked
isn't-
about what we want to do with Mandalorians in this.
Yeah.
The
So I've got no
Mandalorians
idea.
weren't as big until like the Disney era. Like, they
Exactly.
were in Clone
Yeah.
Wars.
Yeah.
But
I think it'd be cool if she had like a Boba Fett-esque bounty hunter on her side as a part of her villains.
that's a whole episode idea.
Yeah?
A Mandalore episode. Figuring
Hey.
it out.
Well,
Anyway.
stay tuned for that one.
Yeah.
Anyways, beat 7. Rey sees this destruction and knows there's only one option left: destroy the Kyber laser and defeat Phasma. She needs help and reaches out to Ben through the Force, embracing it for the first time. Digs down deep. This wakes Ben from his trance, and he jumps into an X-Wing enraged, and the two begin carving their way through TIE fighters. So yeah, this is what breaks Ben out of the Force trance that Luke put him in, and that's going to be, I think, the thing that really breaks Ben and Luke's relationship in this part. Because Luke is like, I need to help you, I need to save you, and the only thing I can think of is to keep you out of this fight. Which I think, personally, is the right move, because he is distraught, and he's so close to, like, a potentially dark side move right now.
Yeah, something.
And Luke would see that and be like, I just need to keep you out of this. There's no time to really do the right
To
thing.
reason with you.
Yeah. There's no time, there's no time. He's got no choice but to kind of kick him out of the battle.
Do you think like Leia would know about it, or Leia would approve of putting him in a trance?
I feel like
Because
yeah.
would that also like change the relationship between Leia and Luke?
something we haven't come down super hard on, and this is a really important thing for me, is whether or not Ben knows about Vader. Because that's a decision that Luke and Leia would have talked about and be like, do we tell him about his granddad? While he's learning to use the Force. It's a really big...
Surely they would, because surely the whole thing throughout Star Wars is misinformation, like hiding, and that's always the fall to the dark side. It's always, I'm not going to tell them, oh, you found out at the
Exactly.
wrong time.
So that relationship, I'm still not super clear on if they've, and how Ben should fall to the dark side. And I'm not certain how Leia would feel. I've got more work to do personally on like what Leia's motivations look like. But yeah, that's a good question. Beat 8. As they approach the Kyber laser's core, Finn tells them that if they destroy the core, the entire ship will explode, killing Luke and everyone on board. Rey and Ben then fly for the hangar. Beat 9. the two arrive at the bridge where they find Phasma holding Luke hostage, who was weakened when he moved the ship. Ben runs in enraged and tries to fight Phasma, who quickly knocks him to the ground. So runs in sort of like Anakin, gets the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah, well, someone beating up a Jedi
Yes.
without a lightsaber.
Beat 10. Phasma offers Rey a new deal. Hand over Ben, Luke, and Finn, and she can get the bounty and walk away from all of this. Rey asks what about the space station, and Phasma says that it needs to be destroyed to send a message to the galaxy. Phasma tells Rey that she doesn't have to care about it. Rey considers this, but then decides her path. She force pulls Ben's lightsaber into her hand, surprising Phasma. So this is like the moment where she uses the force pull. I don't know if that's super earned because she hasn't learned the force. She's kind of only been like talking through the dyad and stuff.
Yep.
Beat 11. Finn moves for the control terminal, trying to shut down the laser. Rey and Phasma fight, Rey barely managing to stay alive. Rey uses a mixture of blaster and lightsaber fighting, which helps her stay out of Phasma's reach. Luke uses the last of his strength to help Rey and defeat Phasma. Finn shuts off the laser, so they win the fight. Beat 12. Ben regains his strength and gets his lightsaber off of Rey. Phasma begins to goad him, telling him how pathetic Han Solo was. Luke yells out powerless as Ben kills Phasma. Ben then leaves, flying a ship out of the hangar. Beat 13. The battle is over, and our remaining heroes gather for Han's funeral in Maz Kanata's bar. Rey talks to Luke and says that she wants to become a Jedi and help him find Ben.
Right.
And that's the end.
What did Luke yell out?
Like yell out to like stop, don't kill her kind
Right.
of thing.
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
Ben,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know, gets up at this point, grabs his lightsaber back and kills Phasma with it.
There you go.
Yeah. The end.
Phasma dead.
Phasma dies.
I think it's really good. I think just power-wise, Phasma would need to be weakened throughout a couple of the battles to
Yes.
justify.
Rey surviving any of that?
Yeah, well, I think not even that. I think you can get away with Rey surviving a fight to Phasma if you justify it in like Phasma's just trained to fight Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, that's just her purpose. And so when the
Exactly.
blaster comes in, she's like, the fuck is this?
Yeah, so
Like,
she's
you
not
can-
as like readily. So firstly, Phasma fights Luke, and Luke is going to beat her.
Yeah.
And then she uses like a shady tactic to win the fight and get the upper hand. Then Ben fights Phasma. Ben loses, but both of those fights I'm feeling like take a toll, take chunks of the armor off,
Yeah.
give Rey the chance that she needs to stay alive in the fight, not win the fight.
Yeah.
And stay alive, and then right at the last second, Luke uses like a force push or something well timed that beats Phasma and knocks her to the ground.
It'd be, yeah, I think what would be good is, or cool, if Luke like tries to force push her away, but Ben's behind her. And that's how you get like the saber through the chest or something.
Oh, something like that could be really cool. Yeah,
So Luke is still somewhat responsible for the death. It's not 100%.
that's interesting. Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking about it, going back and forth. I'm like, it doesn't. There's no world for me that it makes sense in this version of the story where Ben would try and kill Phasma and then be stopped by Luke or Rey. It just didn't. It wasn't making sense in my head. I'm like, no, I think Ben should kill Phasma here. I think that works.
You know how he's got to do it, I'm thinking. If she's got lightsaber proof
Yeah.
armor. I think it was that old Roman execution technique
Mhm.
where because there's a chink in the armor just in the collarbone there where you'd put a spear down
Oh
through
yeah,
the torso, saber down.
that's fucking brutal.
so, like-
Yeah, it is. But it works. Yeah, so it comes
Yeah.
just down into them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good lord.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oof.
So yeah,
Thought-
something like that.
Yeah.
Ben kills Phasma, and that's like his big turning point for him, and then he runs away and
Yeah.
leaves them all behind because I felt like that was way more compelling than him chasing Phasma as she escapes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out how to make Phasma escape feel believable in this situation. So yeah, I was like, nah, dead. So Phasma dies.
What about all the villains that are still on the ship and all the people still surrounding the ship?
Is
Is it kind of like, oh, our head is gone? We have
Yeah,
to
so
go?
I skipped over this, but as Rey and Luke leave, and Finn has disabled the Kyber laser from inside.
Yep.
So they leave, and then that allows the Resistance to gain the upper hand, and then all
Okay.
of the First Order ships leave and like escape kind of thing.
is there any sort of like idea of where our grander heroes go now? Like where the Resistance or the Republic goes now?
I think it would be a really good point to have Leia at this point. Or the debate about lasers and stuff like that. Do you think General Hux sees this whole thing and now is like can fuel his like actual debate for the next movie?
Oh,
on-
absolutely.
Yeah, I think this would be a moment where Leia's like, at the end, you see Leia talking to the council, and she's like, no, we've taken out the threat. See, we could have handled this all on our own.
Yeah.
And Hux is like, no, this is the perfect example. Like, you've just proven my whole point.
Yeah. No, I definitely love that. I much prefer to keep the final scene on something like hopeful and positive.
Yeah.
So potentially have Lando like hologram call in to Leia while she's at the funeral. Although then Lando's not at the funeral. And that sucks.
That's right. Yeah, but he can bring news in the wake.
Oh yeah, he comes along and he's like, "Hey, I just came back from the Senate. Like, they're still super set on building these Death Star lasers, kind of thing. It's not looking good." And yeah, that's kind of like just before you get the moment with Rey and Luke,
cool.
committing to finding Ben and bringing him back.
Are you gonna hint at Ben Darkseid, or
that's
still like?
That's the hint there. He kills Phasma at the end and
Yeah.
then runs away.
Yeah.
After,
Okay. Cool.
After losing his dad. That's a whole bunch of Ben being hit with adversity, like real loss and tragedy for the first time, and then the next movie would be him like grappling with that and dealing with it. Actually, just quickly before we do move on, I really love the Hightower surprise bit in mine where the laser gets fired, it destroys the hyperdrive, meaning Rey has to make a new plan, and Luke is kind of taken out of the fight. Like he's weakened by using that much of the Force, and it takes it out of him, takes a toll on him. That I love. It's everything that comes after that. I feel is a bit messy, and I want to tighten up as much as I can. That's my last note. Jump over to Miller.
Yeah, let's do it. Okay. I've detailed the action as clearly as I possibly can, so it's a bit lengthier. Okay, so where we picked up from my one last week, we had our heroes get separated because Ben gets taken by the First Order, Finn goes back with the First Order, Finn leaves Rey, First Order destroy that kyber base. Rey's alone in space, she gets found by amendment here. Luke and Han with the Falcon and Chewie as well. I realize he does need to be along for this adventure.
Okay.
So he's been there the whole time. Just imagine it. Chewie is you get out of jail free card at all times. And he did get me out of jail free in this act. So
Miller, why were you in jail?
just things that happened off camera.
What did you do with the cricket, man?
They had it coming. Okay, so the First Order arrive above Hosnian Prime and begin targeting the capital city. The Falcon arrives and boards their ship to launch a rescue mission to /shut down the laser. The heroes alert Leia. Lando gives an executive order to dispatch fighters. Leia is able to hijack public billboards and talk to the people. She launches an immediate, we need to leave. That's a fucking laser. Get out of the city. And then, so the fighters are up in space, met by First Order fighters. Space battle ensues. That's just a sort of secondary thing. Great sort of visual that we'll cut back to at some point, but it's not really crucial. We don't know any characters there, but it's just a good way of being like,
bad things happen.
Grander threat. Yeah. Okay, so heroes on the on the Star Destroyer are met by Finn, who stuns the other troopers. He greets them cautiously. He apologizes to Rey, and though she is mad, she believes his intentions are just at this time. I think Finn would be a bit anxious around Han and Luke and Chewie because it's still don't know about these guys, but they're like, there'll be time for judgment later.
Okay, yeah. So Finn meets up with the gang, like Rey, Chewie, Luke. Where do they meet up? Where is that?
In a hangar on their Star Destroyer. So they're like,
so the Millennium Falcon flies into the hangar,
Yeah.
and meets Finn.
Or Finn, or there's troopers there.
Yeah.
And obviously, because you can't just go fly into a Star Destroyer and expect to get away with it.
So why are they flying in there?
They're doing a rescue mission.
And they just walk right up to the First Order troopers?
Ben. Well, I mean, they've landed. Troopers would rush towards this enemy ship.
I'm just confused. What's the Are they gonna run out of the Falcon? Charging
I imagine
into
they
it?
would. Yeah.
So it's an action scene. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
I just was very confused. It's what the intent of Han and Luke was there. So but it seemed like they were talking to Finn.
They do talk to Finn.
How do they talk if they're running out to kill him? That's what I'm confused about.
He stuns the other troopers and he's
Oh,
like, "It's
sorry, I
me,
missed
Finn."
I missed the stun.
Yeah.
I missed the word stun there. Sorry, I was trying to. Sorry, that's my bad.
Okay.
And he's like, "I'm on your side," and they're like, okay,
Yeah.
that'd be great. I love that.
Okay, so Finn gets to a control room. He guides them through the ship via comms. They free Ben. He and Luke are a bit off. There's something off about each other to them. Rey and Ben reunite and hug. Neither thought they'd be so happy to see each other. Ben briefly tries to bring up Phasma with Luke, but he's like, "Nah, we'll talk about the shit later. No, we need to get out."
Yeah.
Okay, everyone is clear on the plan. Destroy the laser and escape. With Finn in this control room, kind of guiding them through doors, being like, "No, they're left. No, go right. Go left. I'll close these doors. Okay, go right again."
Let's go.
Yeah. So they eventually get to the kyber laser, even though the ship is now swarming with troopers looking for these intruders. They discover they cannot simply deactivate the laser, so they spring a trap. When the weapon fires, it will destabilize and self-destruct. Stormtroopers break through at some point. Han dies, sacrificing himself to save Ben, amidst Luke and Luke and Ben are arguing. It's a moment where it's kind of like they're both to blame. But again, they have a brief sort of mourning of holy fucking shit, Han Solo's dead.
Yep.
But the situation is desperate. The weapon is almost ready. They have to get back. And the New Republic fighters are almost all but destroyed. So, back on the planet, Leia and Lando are helping citizens get to transports. And then we see a little glimpse of Hux, whose guards are helping him escape. It's a bit of a thing to be like, shows the stakes on the planet and also just like his selfishness of fuck you all, I'm leaving. Okay, pause there, I suppose.
No, I
Nice.
followed all that.
Yeah.
My one question is about the Kyber laser.
Yeah.
So they can't destroy it, but they can booby trap it.
Yeah.
Who booby traps it in your head?
Probably probably Finn. Like
Okay.
Finn wouldn't have to like
Yeah.
be there at this point.
I think
In
there'd
terms
be
of what they're doing, God knows.
I think that'd be a really good thing with the laser if they're not 100% sure whether or not it's work. Like, kind of having the idea of like, oh, are you willing to risk this planet to see if this booby trap works?
Mm.
So the laser's gonna fire.
It's gonna
and,
Yeah,
fire.
it's
and
gonna
destroy
fire.
something.
Can't stop that.
And then it'll
Well,
explode.
it's gonna fire.
Okay.
And we'll see what happens when
Yeah.
it fires. But yeah,
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
bit of a on a wing and a prayer. Just like go for it. We have to try something, see what happens.
Yeah.
Risky. Back on the ship, the heroes reach a hallway just before the hangar, and they are met by Phasma and her troopers, kind of like Vader in A New Hope. You know, before that.
Yeah.
That again, that hangar with the Falcon. After a bit of a like sizing up your opponent conversation, then coupled with Han's death and sort of Ben's trajectory over this film, he's kind of thrown over the edge, and so he goes for Phasma. Luke intercepts with his saber, and then Ben's rage is boiling over. He's just like, "Oh fuck this, fuck you, man!" So they have their own fight, which sprawls into an adjacent hallway.
So are they fighting as Phasma's like in front of them?
Yeah,
I think it's like one of those really awkward moments where you're just watching a family fight and you're like, sorry.
Yeah. Although I just have to imagine within her helmet, she's like, "This is great. This is the best. These Jedi." Anyway, but there's all these other enemies here. All hell breaks loose in the hallway. Rey, Finn, and Chewie have to kind of shoot their way through. Bran and Phasma get into it, because that's, again, just so close. They get into a bit of melee combat, which obviously Rey is no match for Phasma. But Finn gets involved. They're able to kind of temporarily force it back, and they, again, dart around a different way. You just got to get to the Falcon at this point. Anyway, break there.
All right. So they meet Phasma in a hallway. Big fight breaks out. Ben and Luke are fighting each other.
Yep.
And Rey and Finn and Chewie manage to escape the hallway, away from the Horde. Got it. Hallway fight. Love
Yeah.
it.
Okay. Luke and Ben's fight takes them into the hangar because you need more space when you're fighting. It's nice to have space. In a moment mirroring losing his own hand, Luke accidentally severs Ben's hand
Accidentally cuts his fucking hand off.
amidst the fight.
Accidents happen,
he's
man.
just
They happen.
flourish. Shit happens. So yeah,
An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
more civilized than just like getting shot and bleeding out.
Fucking cuts the boy's hand off.
Yeah.
Awesome.
His rage taking hold of him, Ben throws Luke against the hull of the Falcon. He's knocked unconscious. Luke's saber flies across the floor, landing at the feet of Rey. She picks it up, and after failing to calm Ben, she chooses to fight him rather than let him kill Luke nor Phasma. She won't let him succumb to his rage. Clearly, Luke didn't want him to either. The other heroes get on the Falcon and begin firing at the stormtroopers in the hangar. Like I imagine we get that bit again where like the lower gun like comes out and it just starts gunning down bloody stormtroopers like in Empire Strikes Back. And it's like, well, that's not really fair, is it? Because that's a big ass cannon firing at stormtroopers. Rey and Ben duel, and it's quite even at this point because we just have a one-armed Ben who's just letting this rage fuel his fight versus Rey who's never held a lightsaber before.
Yeah.
So it makes more sense than how it was in the actual Force Awakens, I think. Rey eventually gets a slight upper hand, tapping into the Force. During the fight, Ben's lightsaber bleeds red. The dark side takes over. At some point, the fight is not really reaching a conclusion. They're just starting to get exhausted. They are both hit with some sort of like flurry of visions that kind of just cause them both to clutch their heads, fall to the ground. Dyad shit is taking over. I'll pause there for a sec whilst I find my notes because I lost it.
Where is this fight happening?
In a hangar.
They're in the hangar still.
Yep.
So they've come. So Ben and Luke have fought their way into the hangar.
Yep.
And then
Heroes caught up.
Ben gets his hand cut off.
Yep.
Then what happens to Luke? He gets
Then he
knocked out.
Yeets him out the Falcon itself,
we
or like
do-
at a wall or something. Cargo.
So Ben wins the fight against Luke.
That's it. After losing a hand, kind of, yeah.
Okay.
I feel like that would be a really good moment to kind of have like the force choke, like a really Vader
Or a
kind
force
of
choke, yeah.
up to the side because it
Interesting.
kind of hints the dark side before you go bleed saber.
And then everyone else catches up, and Rey gets the lightsaber off of Luke to fight. Although it skids to the ground
Yeah, it's
towards her,
kinda just-
and
yeah.
then she fights Ben.
Yeah.
Why is she fighting Ben?
Because
I think
just kind of just stop him. This is her hero moment. Just, so like this is her friend is falling to the dark side. Obviously, she doesn't know what it means to fall to the dark side, but he's filled with rage. He might kill Luke, and then that's just not right. He's obviously not in a good place right now. He
Yeah.
might go on to kill Phasma. She just needs to just stop him, just try and calm him. And when that doesn't work, well, then she's forced to fight him.
Got it.
so. She's like blocking his exit to get to where the others are, or is he trying to kill Luke on the ground?
He might go after Luke, yeah.
What's his
Yeah.
intention right now? Like, what's he
Yeah.
trying to achieve?
Kill Luke, kill Phasma, killing spree. He's just
Gotcha.
he's done. He's full of rage.
I think it'd kind of be good instead of him trying to kill Luke, because I feel like before we go straight to I'm going to kill you, because Luke's just kind of stopped him at this point.
Yeah.
If Rey thinks he's going to kill Luke, like he drops him on the ground, he like feels really bad for a sec. Rey just sees Luke on the ground, him missing a hand and like a red saber. That's when she's like, oh, I'm not even going to try and really calm you down. I'm just scared of what you're going to do to go forward.
Not fair, yeah.
Because I feel like killing Luke happens a little later. Like, I feel like he needs to build up that rage a little more before he goes to straight killing him.
Gotcha.
Yep.
But yeah, I think knocking Luke out and then going, cool, he's out of the way. I can kill Phasma now.
Yeah.
Yep. Finn is calling after Rey from the Falcon, and before she escapes aboard the Falcon, she offers a hand to Ben. He rejects it and escapes on a fighter of his own.
He's like, how could you? I just lost that.
Yeah.
I didn't even
Nice.
remember.
That's good. Here. Have a hand.
Ooh.
Offers his own hand.
Sorry, that
picks
was-
up his hand.
That was low hanging
It's like,
fruit.
yeah. Anyway, the heroes flee, and we had that bit like from Rise of Skywalker where they launch from the hangar, and all the stormtroopers are like,
Classic.
get thrown back. Okay, and the Falcon kind of has to shoot its way through the rest of that space fight as they go out. A trooper informs Phasma that something is wrong with the Kyber laser. Via she puts out like a ship-wide comm. She's like, right, evacuate, get the fuck out. And she orders the destroyer to be sent towards the planet.
Oh.
Suicide bombing.
Interesting.
Yeah. Anyway, she boards her own transport. Our heroes fly towards Hosnian Prime. In a tense bit of like build-up, the First Order destroyer enters the atmosphere. Looks like it's shooting towards the city. From Leia and Lando's perspective, it's like, oh my god, it's coming at us. But as the laser fires, it just like, it all explodes.
Right.
So there you go. Plan worked.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, booby trap works. The
Whole
laser
thing,
doesn't go.
it explodes, debris falls into the ocean. Happy days. Falcon lands in the city. Our heroes reunite. They mourn Han's death. And the First Order, Transport, and Band, they've all taken off. They're gone. Fight over. So yeah.
Do you have a final image?
I've got resolution.
Oh, so you were stopping there for us to
Yeah.
chat? Okay, so yeah, they escape the Star Destroyer. It falls down. It's going to fire, and then it explodes instead, rains down the ocean. They're like, cool, we won. Brilliant.
Yeah. Good.
Yep.
Happy
I followed-
days.
Followed all that.
I think this kind of takes away from it a bit, and you can say no. But I think if it does explode in the sky, I think it'd be good to have some fallout of people still do die from it crashing out of the sky into this city.
Could be. I don't want it to be too depressing.
duh.
Emily
Yeah,
says,
yeah.
they got off scot-free? No.
No, there's all sorts of pilots and shit died. You know, it's like some bad
Because
things
I feel like
happen.
that would fuel Hux's kind of thing of, I don't like the Jedi. I don't trust them. I don't trust this group of rogue people.
Yeah.
I know what's best.
I
But I
actually-
feel like it's too dark.
I actually love this a lot more than mine because the ship getting so close to and potentially attacking Hosnian
Yeah.
Prime is the exact ammo he needs politically. To be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
look,
It's right
they
on their
were
doorstep.
right
Literally.
on our doorstep. They
Yeah.
nearly had us.
Literally.
We need our own deterrent kind of thing. I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
that's really good.
Really twisted, joining I think Hux just needs to twist every bad
Oh,
thing
yeah.
into his own.
Absolutely.
Which brings me to our resolution. Okay, so on Hosnian Prime, they hold a funeral for Han and the fallen pilots. All of our heroes are in attendance, now including Akbar
Mhm.
and Wedge Antilles.
Oh
in it.
shit, it's
He's
Wedge
in it.
Antilles.
Oh my god, it's Wedge Antilles. Would go mellow in the cinema. In the Senate, Hux gets Kyber laser technology approved
Yep.
to combat this increasing threat. Leia resigns from the Senate, and in our actual sort of final image, kind of final scene, Leia, the new heroes, our old ones, have a meeting aboard a Star Cruiser to discuss the future. They will fight the underworld threat independently from the Republic. They must stop all Death Star tech from persisting. Luke and Rey talk. He wants her to become a Jedi. She's not so keen on perhaps the Jedi itself.
Yeah.
She doesn't know a whole lot about it, but she is definitely open to learning more about the Force and therefore, just learning more about herself. And they're both determined to find Ben.
Yeah.
Our final holding image is going to be similar to Empire Strikes Back. It's Rey and Finn reunite, smile at each other, hold hands, and they look out to the stars from the cruiser.
No, I really like that she's hesitant about the Jedi. She's like, dude, I just saw your last student. He is not doing well.
Yeah, well, I don't think that she would need to jump on the regime necessarily. And that's also what I'm thinking more for episode 8. Episode 8 is she'll learn what it means to be a Jedi
Yes.
and then will determine for herself whether or not that is something she actually wants.
Yes.
She can learn
No, I'm
to use
fully
the Force, but
fully on that train with you. I think that's a great character arc for the second movie to
Yeah.
for her decide like you decide that you want to fight for something and not just be, drifting through the galaxy, but now you got to decide what it is you want to fight for and why. And,
Yeah,
and
and-
learn more about it.
And then we can do the thing that Last Jedi actually tried to do, which is, what is the Jedi? What does it mean to be the Jedi? Like, let's attack that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that as well.
So there you go.
Brilliant.
Force
Great
Awakens.
work. I love a lot of that. I really love the main conflict above Hosnian Prime. I think that's fantastic. The one thing that it doesn't super present, that it's one of those things where it's like, I've got this, but it makes the overall shape of the story weaker, is that the battle above the space station is about Rey. It's core, like, the only reason they're there is because of Rey. It's tied to her, and, and she's the main character.
Yep.
But it makes more sense for the big climax to be on Hosnian Prime, but it takes away Rey's internal motivation to care.
It does, but it's like, for the whole journey that I think we both wanted to go, but different approaches for Rey is to care about something other than herself. So in my one, I do have her starting alone, completely alone. Like she doesn't have a life or a people or anything worth giving a shit about. Yeah. There, so like here's this grander galactic conflict that she has the potential to involve herself in. She has the potential to be a hero as a part of, and she does. Yeah. She's like, I'm gonna save this grander civilization who I have nothing to do with, who I don't know anything about. Yeah. Because it's the right thing to do.
No, I do like that. I just find it a harder bridge to cross in the sense of her deciding on altruism so early. It's something that I found easier to write for, is like, okay, she's got this place that she lives in that she doesn't really give a shit about, but she knows for a fact that it's going to be under threat and it's going to be her fault. And that is a really powerful drive for her to decide to actively do something about it and actually try and save people.
Yes. But here's that's the grandiose sort of scale thing.
Yeah.
Here's the real hero moment for her in my one. So she's just a part of this group that are going to go do this heroic thing. She's contributing. She's doing her part.
She's getting kind of like swept along.
She is, yeah, but she's actively taking part. Her hero moment is in trying to stop Ben from going too far. Now it doesn't
and that's a
work.
personal like friendship.
Yeah, thing. There's the actual culmination of her whole journey of being less selfish.
Yeah.
Is that she's caring about this person who was her friend, who she initially rejected for so much of this film. She didn't want along the journey with her. Who clearly he's unstable. Clearly something's wrong, and she doesn't want to hurt him. She's just trying to stop him from going too far. So that's her real hero moment.
Yeah. No, I like that a lot. I like that it's more about her being tied to Ben. And that's the thing that is kind of centering her internal conflict and motivation, is that it is about like, she wants a friend, like she wants to have friendship, and she thought that was Ben, and she's trying to save that and hold on to that. And that's a hero moment. I like that.
Yeah.
It also sets it up really well for the next movie and pulling her motive onto, I actually want to go find him.
Yeah,
exactly.
She's not like trying to fight him in this. It's a reluctant thing of like, you need to stop. I'm going to try and stop you.
Yeah.
And if
Which
you're
is similar to what Luke did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think having her journey start with, she has nothing and no one, she's adrift in the galaxy, and having it end with, I am deciding to fight for my friends, is probably honestly more powerful than I'm deciding to fight for a space station that I sort of grew up in. And I like that a lot as more. It's just balancing all these like motivations and balancing the motivations along with the set pieces that go along with them, because Star Wars is all about these set pieces, and it's very much a part of the story.
And they've all got to be reflective of those lessons.
Exactly. And I feel like, and this is something I've been struggling with, the Hosnian Prime fight is more reflective of this, like the set piece and the themes and the story that we're going for, as opposed to some space station run by some guy. Which, I like it, but it's also, there's just a lot of weaknesses to it.
The space station works well for Rey. Hosnian Prime works better for
everyone
of them
else.
Together.
Yeah, exactly. So that's something I've been wrestling with. Something we've been wrestling with at the start is with Rey being outside of all of this and trying to figure out a way to bring her into the story. In a
it's
way
that whole
makes
bounty
sense.
hunter.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the best part about that for me is like none of that gets resolved. I didn't, like that was our inciting into our jumping off point was her getting this bounty, and I didn't give a shit about it. It's not important. It's just the thing that thrusts her into the story, and I throw it to the wayside. Yeah, because it's not important.
No, I think you're right, and I think honestly, like that's exactly how Luke is in A New Hope. He's we start on Tatooine, we see his life and story, and then he gets his he loses everyone he grew up with, and he's like, cool, I guess I'm leaving this behind.
Yeah,
now.
we're gonna go to Alderaan. Alderan's not there. Well, I guess we're gonna go on this other adventure then.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think that's what you can do with like movie characters is you can change how they like feel about characters so quickly. You're like, yeah, it sucked, but you've really got to focus on this.
We've only got 10 minutes for you to be sad, so you just wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Yeah,
exactly.
Although I would saying of that, I would like to see some of the after effects of Han's death.
Yeah,
like see some PTSD within this movie of, oh my god, someone's just died, and we see it in Ben, but we don't see it in the other characters. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think it's bad to be sad. I don't think it's weak to be sad. Just for Ben it is, but it would be good to see.
Yeah, like obviously that moment is Ben's, but it would be very interesting there to see like what's Rey's response to this is Han Solo. Now I know of this guy Han Solo. I've just met this guy Han Solo. He's dead. He's my friend's dad. What the fuck? Oh man.
Yeah, like it's her first time exposed to like death. Like Leia Luke
or a death that
used
she
to it.
Yeah.
Somehow
Yeah.
cares about for
Yeah,
whatever
she's like,
reason.
oh, I'm feeling these things in my heart.
Yeah.
For the first time.
My one thing for Han's death is obviously we've both done it and we both
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
strongly that Han Solo needs to die
Yeah,
because
no,
he doesn't have a space in the story.
I do like where it happens for you more, so it gives more time and more
Yeah, so for you it
Ben's.
happened during the third act.
Yeah.
And that's that would be terrifying to try and write into. Okay, how's Ben's got to react to this and then Rey's got to react, but we're also got to have the Hightail surprise so that we can keep the action going.
Yep.
I think the end of the second act, like low point, is where that death.
It's a good point.
And it gives Leia and Luke a chance to comprehend it.
Exactly. I want to kill Han, but I want to make sure everyone's got time to be sad about it on
Yeah.
screen. I think it's
I think it's a good moment also for Ben to lose a bit of respect for Luke, being like, why are you not more sad about this?
Exactly. And then how do you feel about the trance thing, Mello? Like Luke actively taking Ben out of the fight and putting him in the trance.
It's awesome because it goes against what Rey's doing and what Luke's trying to teach Rey of control your own story, but not you.
Exactly.
You're a little too.
In that moment, Luke is living in the anti-theme of the story,
Yeah,
and he's taking someone's
100%.
like control away.
I think I like Luke trying to sideline Ben,
Yeah.
but not as a force ability.
Okay.
More of
You
a
know, like
like
force
a
trance.
not as much.
Yeah.
No, just because it's just like it gives Ben the freedom to there's conflict there if he's actually just telling him, and then it's like how has this relationship evolved? Would Ben listen? Would Ben refuse? Would Ben initially re-listen once again?
and then have the chance to refuse.
Exactly.
Because that's really what's
yeah.
happening anyway. Like,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
make too much a difference if it is a trance or not, because it is ultimately Ben maybe starts listening and then something happens and he's like, fuck this, I'm going to take action.
But I think the one thing in terms of the trance that maybe not is like Luke doing Luke putting his nephew, his apprentice to sleep like that. It's like, that's a bit dodgy, man. With Luke,
Yeah.
My response to that is we want to do Luke fails somehow.
Yeah.
And that for me is that moment of there's a lot of time pressure here. There's a lot of bad stuff happening. And there's the potential that if I give you the freedom to make your own decisions here, you're going to end up making the wrong one.
Yeah.
And I can't risk that. I can't risk you going to the dark side.
But isn't that his failure? His helicopter parenting throughout the whole film is perhaps
Well,
his failure.
then I think I would need to do a better job of having that be the helicopter parenting, because I didn't really include that in the story, because it's like, oh, Luke's a good teacher. But then in this moment, he fails. So I don't know.
I mean, either way, Luke needs to just control Ben.
Okay.
One way or another, I think he just needs to kind of be like, I'm taking your free will away. And I think that's what... No, but I think
Or he like
that's...
locks him in a room then instead, maybe.
Well, how does Hans gets frozen?
Oh, in carbonite?
Could do that, but I don't know how he'd get out of that.
His rage is so warm that it
just
melts the
melts.
carbon.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, I think that's the whole piece about the dark side is you're in control of what you want. That was the whole thing with Anakin. You can control the death. You aren't. Versus the Jedi is you're just there to serve others.
Yeah.
And I think that was what will be good with Rey is she's like, I want to be in control, but I also like want to help others. Like, why can't I do both?
No, it's tricky. It's tricky. But I really like these. I think these are actually both pretty good third acts overall. Definitely, like, if you're a professional writer listening to this, I'm sure there's better shows you should be listening to, but obviously they're not
Imagine if a professional writer was listening. It'd just be so much fun. Thank you.
But yeah, obviously, there's a lot of problems and a lot of issues, and like, oh, what about this? And what about this? Like, when does this happen? What is this motivation? What is this location? All sorts of, I'm sure, many, many problems. But overall, there is a shape to these stories, and there is an intent. And there is the First Order, there is the Jedi and the Resistance, or whatever, the New Republic and stuff. And some interesting characters and fun stuff. So I'm pretty proud. I'm pretty happy with it. It's looking good. Just trying to think. What else have we got to think about in terms of this?
Nothing.
Let's
submit them. Submit the scripts.
No, they're not
to Disney.
submitted.
We just submit the podcast and you go, here.
Here you
So,
go.
Mello, what
Don't
we've
write
done this week is we put aside a heap of time for you and me to work together and try and, in some way, merge these two beat sheets and create one beat sheet that we're mostly happy with. And next week, we will present that on this show, and we will go through it. We'll iron it out. Emily, I don't know if you're going to be there for that one.
I'll be doing...
Oh, you'll be busy, yes.
PPD.
So it'll be Sandra will be back. We'll have to catch him up and everything. But that's
God. Oh,
we're going to give him
How's that
another
gonna go?
migraine.
Oh. Can we just send him the notes and then tell him here's the progress we've already made? Let's just hit him with the new progress.
Yeah, let's do that.
God.
But yeah, so that'll be that'll include a lot of our new ideas and combined ideas and all this kind of stuff. So let's do a little sneak peek. What sort of things do we want to combine? What are our like hard set?
Yeah, no, I haven't been thinking about this.
What are some non-negotiables or some negotiables that we're really passionate about? Let's go through.
I feel like Han's death.
Han's death. That's a non-negotiable. I think that's going to be in there.
Han's death, Ben's fall and separation from the heroes.
Yes. Okay, so you say separation. You had him kidnapped at the start of the third act.
No, sorry. When I say fall and separation, I mean by the end.
By the end. Okay, cool.
He voluntarily separates himself.
I think we've found that. I think we found a good story where Ben, is moving further and further away, and he's following glory and his own ego in a really negative way, and that needs to be punished.
Yeah. For
How
hopefully
dare he.
longer, Ray and Ben and Finn are our trio on their journey.
Yes. That's easily my least favorite part of my own beat sheet is bringing Finn into the story and having those three have their fun adventure.
Yep.
This is an adventure film, damn it,
Yeah.
and they need to have a fun time.
Yeah.
You will have fun.
You will have fun.
Ray starts to open up to the concept of the Force.
Yeah.
Finn becomes disillusioned with his cause with the First Order or Empire. Hux is trying to advocate for Death Star tech.
Yes.
Yep. Cool.
So that's our core conflict for this one that we've settled on is this whole argument about the kyber lasers.
Yeah, which is like our nuclear debate.
Yeah. So what you've got though is that they're attacking Hosnian Prime at the end with all of the new power that they've amassed and stuff. It's this big final conflict. The New Republic seems to be involved in that fight, right?
Well, yeah, no, they're fighting against it. They're like, okay, we'll send out fighters because fuck.
So it's a small difference. In my one, they voted against taking action against Phasma.
Right.
Because
space. Because it is a neutral space.
it's a neutral space, and also they don't know the capacity of Phasma's laser, and it could be like that could be a death sentence for the whole fleet.
Yeah, my one, they've got no choice.
Yeah, they're being attacked, so they have to
They are
fight.
there, you must fight.
I think that is a bit more climactic. I think I like that more.
But I think it's also a bit more cinematic, just having everyone look up and it's there.
Hey guys, you want to know a fun little thing?
What's that?
So in a way that some things play out, the third act is almost Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh
shit!
And it was conscious.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't even
decision.
notice when you were going through it. I was like, oh yeah, that sounds familiar.
It's really good.
That's funny. What are the odds that I brought that up at the start of the show?
It's really funny that you did. I was like, just wait.
Just you wait, buddy.
Just you wait.
No. I think Hosnian Prime being the final battle location feels like somewhat of a non-negotiable. But it's sort of negotiable. But I think it's a good idea. I think that's a good place to end the story.
And then also the whole. Now we do need to establish this really well that the underworld is comprised of underworld. Yeah. Underworld with like former Imperial warlords, some Imperial remnants.
Yes.
And that Phasma's trying to unite it all.
Yes, there is a spectrum of what constitutes the Outer Rim, and that is the crime underworld and also the Imperial Remnant, and there is some crossover of the Venn
and that's all
diagram there.
visual. That's all visually told.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, fun little thing for you, completely random, Bryce, because you've spoken about the Gendai as this supreme warlord.
Some
being
kind of cool dude, yeah.
I've thought of how it can work.
I got to hear that pitch sometime.
Sometime. I'll tell you off camera, mate. I'm really happy with it, actually.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I think we've very much settled on Rey as the bounty hunter.
Yeah.
She starts disconnected from everything, adrift in space, and alone. I think that's a really important, visually to tell that story and character-wise as well. She needs to not care about anything and not care about anyone and be alone. And she needs to, by the end of the story, decide to change that. It's got to be her choice. That's her hero's journey.
It reminds me a lot of Mandalorian.
Oh, yeah.
Like the whole...
He's a bounty hunter. But even then, he has the Mandalorians, like the foundlings and the tribe and everything.
Mandalorian and Han Solo. It's very similar to Han Solo's story.
Yeah, Han's got Chewie. Mando's got his community.
Yeah. Rey has no.
Rey's got BB-8.
BB-8 definitely has BB-8.
Where is BB?
No, that's a given, though. BB-8 is Rey's
Look,
droid.
maybe I neglected some droids from the story. What are you going to do?
Look,
but Rey's got BB-8.
Yeah, but 90% of Star Wars is you add the droids in at the end for plot reasons.
BB-8's just there with Finn being like, you go down this hallway. Just that. That's the BB-8's whole purpose.
Yeah. Majority, actually, you pointed that out, Mello. Majority of droids in Star Wars is just there for like comic relief.
Yes.
They're kind of just around, especially like A New Hope, you've got R2-D2 in the plans.
Well,
After that, that's
they're crucial to the plan. Yeah, and that's why Anthony Daniels was like, for episode 9, he's like, thank God, you've made me semi-integral to the plot.
It's been 20 years since I've been relevant, please.
Yeah, he's just
put me in the plot.
The annoying, goofy side character.
Oh, that's so funny.
Even though I like C-3PO in the original trilogy, at least.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
C-3PO.
Yeah, cool. Oh, big things to come. This is the thing. It's like it's so close.
Yes, no, and I think lining all our ducks up in a row, as the Americans say,
And shoot them.
and then shooting them is
Yeah.
great. The action adventure part, the Act 2A,
Act 2. Yeah.
Act 2A, I struggle with because in my head it feels like let's just do a New Hope again. You know what I mean? Like let's. Because I had the Kyber laser fire at the midpoint, which is exactly the same as the Death Star firing on Alderaan in A New Hope. And then our heroes are stuck on that ship for the remainder of Act 2B until they escape, and then we have to do the Hosnian Prime fight.
Yep.
Feels like along the lines of the basic structure of what the movie's going to look like. Everything leading up to that, I am much more foggy on in terms of where are our three main characters, where is their adventure, and how are we bringing all three of them together, especially when they are from such disparate backgrounds.
Yes. Once we nail what the crossover is going to be, I think it's not going to be too hard from there.
And does Han and Chewie still remain damsels in distress? Because I liked that to
Yeah.
keep
They
them out of
should.
the story.
Yeah.
Until they need to die, or until Han needs to die at the end.
Yeah, I don't mind it having
Yeah.
them. It's because it is funny.
It is funny.
It's really and I think it's an opportunity to make a joke there.
There's a great chance for comedic relief with Han and Phasma talking to each other, and Han kind of playing Poe's role in The Force Awakens, where he is giving those witty
So who
comments.
talks first? You talk first. I talk
Yeah,
first.
exactly. That kind of thing.
But that's what Han always has been.
Exactly.
Like, it just reminds me of that one scene where he, shoots the controller and he's like, how are you?
Boring conversation
Yeah,
anyway.
He didn't learn his lines for that bit. just so it would play better.
That's
It's really
fantastic.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I would love to see a lot more of that, and we get to see him and Chewie kind of doing their thing, mouthing off against Phasma, but
Yeah.
ultimately he's gonna.
I'd love
die.
to. You keep cutting back to the prison cell, and it's like Chewie's ripped all of the internals out of it, but there's still no way out. Like all the panels are off the walls.
That would be fun. I like that.
I think it's still a good chance to show how scary Chewie is.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we still get Han and Chewie as the damsels in distress.
My question, moving on from this movie to the next one,
Okay.
who are you guys setting up as the villain?
Okay.
Are
bear
we
with me.
setting up Hux?
I'm keeping Hux is a foil.
Yes.
you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's an obstacle, but not necessarily a
Yeah.
villain.
I'm still setting up Phasma. I've got a way that it can work with Phasma, and then this grander Gandai character in Episode 8, who is like a new villain. But to me, he's a villain for that one, and then I'll move on from him again for 9, and then I still want Phasma to be the big bad.
So, okay. So, I guess the main difference between solidifying the big shit is, does Phasma die?
So I've killed Phasma here. Bear with me. I want to bring her back as a zombie.
Okay.
Force
Like
zombie.
Parasite?
No. As like a Force zombie, more like the Night Sisters, which I famously don't
Oh.
like.
Okay, that's interesting for you.
Okay.
It is weird for
Okay.
me.
Yeah. For me, Phasma is kind of the is a visual equivalent of Vader.
Okay.
Not
Yeah.
of Palpatine,
Yeah.
but of Vader, because it's like the military leader of this army with the grand plan. And unlike Vader, there's not going to be any sort of connection. It's just, this is our whole, because we've always wanted this like fascism remaining sort of story. And that to me is it, is like, that we should have that 20 years later, there would still be this person who is embellic of the big bad, who, let's be real, was Vader. The man pulling the puppet master behind it was Palpatine, but everyone knew Vader. He's the face of the whole thing.
Yes.
I think it's also going to be, how do you make Phasma scary again? Like, if she's, from your story, if she continues to live on, bring her back. She's been beat by Rey, Luke, Ben. How do you make her scary again? Because the whole thing was she was unbeatable.
Would you settle for a semi-zombified?
So
it's like she wasn't
How
really dead.
zombified
As in-
is she?
As
How
in, she
dead?
could have died, but with some, I'm assuming, dark side shit.
Yeah.
She's kind of like
She's like
in this semi-resurrect state where it's like,
Yeah.
if you were to like take the armor off, it's like she's got a dead arm,
Palpatine's whole thing about bringing back
Yeah.
the dead. He's like, oh no, that was real. Oh yeah.
where she's like, she survived most of it, but maybe she's got like a Frankenstein arm or something,
So bear with me for a little bit more.
Okay.
This is a sort of recent idea. I'm liking the idea of having one of Palpatine's acolytes have learned some of the ways of the Sith and like poured over Palpatine's documents from somewhere and have taught themselves some of the dark alchemy and Sith magic, right? And this character has taken all of this along and has seen Phasma and like, oh, Phasma was gonna continue the Empire, and then that character becomes involved in the story in the second movie and ends up training Ben, or like encouraging Ben to join to follow the path of the dark side.
That actually does bring back a question. Neither of you have really mentioned Sith.
No.
No.
So I was thinking about it. I'm like, I really like the Sith. I think they're one of the most interesting parts about the Star Wars galaxy. And this is my thought of how I would bring that back into the next few movies.
I don't want to bring back the Sith. I want to bring back the dark side.
Yeah.
In some way. I don't give a shit about the Sith. I think
Yeah.
I like that they died with Palpatine.
Yeah.
But there is still a darkness. And this is our story thread, our through line is fighting the darkness.
Darkness always comes back. You got to keep fighting it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think even if you have like the Mortis arc.
Yeah.
The like physical embodiment of darkness.
Yes. Yeah.
I think something like that would be cool.
Bryce hates the Mortis.
Fucking hate the Mortis arc.
Why?
I think it's because it's
there's
too.
a little rat Batman.
I hate it.
I do agree that it's too grand.
It's one of these things that's very much like not necessarily like a Jesus, like a Christ analog and stuff, but
But it's a very big.
there's some of that going on.
Yes,
and
it is.
when you get to that sort of like biblical revelation, sort of like really grand storytelling, I think sometimes the more lore there is, the less valuable the thing becomes. For me, personally. I don't like all
You
the
want to
deep...
keep it still.
I don't like legends very much. I don't like the deep knowledge of like, you go and talk to these Force ghosts and Force spirits and the whatever the fates are that Yoda talks to in that arc.
The wills.
The wills.
Yeah.
I could leave all of that away from me. I came here for a fun
The
adventure.
dark side. Yeah. Okay,
And I
cool.
think a simple pulp villain like the
Yeah.
Sith is really great for that for me personally.
Awesome.
But by the same token as well, Mello, when you say I love the dark side, not the Sith can die with Palpatine. I think, keeping that message alive by having the Sith come back no matter what still ties into that theme.
Like it's easy for audiences if they're a bit stupid. To be like, we couldn't simply do just another dark side. We'd have to do it. We'd have to call it the Sith so that they're like, oh, the bad guys. Yeah. I know them. Yeah.
I mean, the whole point of Star Wars is no matter what, you need to keep fighting.
Yeah. There's
But
always
how
hope.
you choose to fight.
Yeah.
Now that's what we're going to bring into question. What is worth fighting?
So that's my little thing for the next movie is that Ben gets tempted to the dark side by someone who is not immediately revealed to be a Sith, but they end up being a Sith. And then at some point, the Kyber will be used to resurrect Phasma, and then they're going to go after the Jedi Temple. And that's kind of some of my stuff for the next movie. Which unfortunately seems like it's moving away from the Crime Underworld stuff, which is not like I love the idea of the Crime Underworld and I want to do more of it.
You're moving away from it?
Not
I'm
like
not moving away.
I'm not intentionally. I'm a ship lost in the sea of my own mind, Mello.
Okay. That's
That was
right.
that was beautiful. That's
Write that
deep.
down, Shakespeare.
Yeah. Okay.
I've been podcasting for too long. I'm becoming way too pretentious.
So, what's your crypto stream?
All right.
Oh,
Any final
God.
notes on these beat sheets before we move on into better things?
This has been really fun, and our Force Awakens draft is going to be sick. People should recommend this to their friends.
People should recommend this to their friends.
I recommend
if
this to
you
my
like
friends.
this show and you like our fun Star Wars ideas, strap in because they're not stopping. We've got so many more things we want to work on and so many more ideas we want to share with you, so many more versions of beat sheets and drafts and scripts and all that kind of stuff.
And after almost 20 episodes, we're almost at a treatment that we're happy with. So,
yeah, well, this is episode, like 27, I think? Or 28? So,
Jesus.
yeah.
It only took us this long.
It only took us like over 6 months, but we've got something good-ish, and we're going to have something even better hopefully next week that we can really present, and that'll be the rest of the year's worth of stuff. And then after that, we've got some other stuff banked up that should be really fun and exciting for you guys.
And also, let us know what you think of our spin-off episodes, because if you like them enough, we could continue them.
We probably will regardless.
Yeah. We need spin-offs.
You will like them. It's fine. This has been Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, and we're here every week talking about Star Wars and writing. If you want to see more, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. And while you're there, make sure to give us 5 stars, follow, like, and subscribe, etc. We'll be back next week with part 5 of Fixing the Force Awakens, but until then, may the Force be with you.